Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to the 12th Man YouTube channel. A brand new channel dedicated to football, or in particular the Premier League. If any of you are wondering, that voice sounds pretty familiar. It's down to the fact that I've actually made videos before. I've created channels before, but due to low views and not many subscribers, I've shut the channels down and started again. So today, this is completely off the cuff. There's going to be no script in front of me like I've done in previous videos. I'm going to talk to you about a subject in the Premier League at the moment that's happening and something that's affecting the club Stoke City. So, yep, you've guessed it. We're going to have a conversation about Mark Hughes, the rise and what looks like the eventual fall of Sparky. So let's get started. I think it's fair to say that when Mark Hughes first came to the club, many Stoke fans were sceptical on Peter Coates' decision to bring him into the club, especially after the torrid time that he had at QPR, and with them eventually being relegated and a lot of fingers pointing at Sparky, even though he didn't finish there at the end of the season. I think he was taking the brunt of the blame for their relegation. So obviously I'm coming to Stoke. Stoke fans were sceptical. I was sceptical. I mean, I'm a Stoke fan myself, so I was pretty sceptical. But I think looking at the overall picture of him coming to the club, I think we needed fresh ideas after losing Tony Pulis. And Tony's brand of football was just torrid. His last 6 months were absolutely terrible. I mean, I think it was one of them where it was eventually going to happen. You could tell that the brand of football was no longer working for the club. So Mark came in, pretty much from the word go. He tried to change the style of play, something which within time and with bringing in certain players, it definitely worked. I mean, I'm not going to do a full season review, season by season that he's been with us, but I think in that first season you could see the change. Players like Stephen Ireland, Marko Arnautovic, and well, at times Asaidi, they really showed that this new brand of football at the club was working. There was no more long ball anymore. It was short, neat passing, and with Steven Nzonzi in the central of everything. I mean, it looked good. We looked like a decent team, and finishing ninth place was a massive achievement for the club. And to cut a long story short, he did that for the next 3 following seasons. But in particular, the first 2 seasons, it was impressive. We had some decent players coming to the club. I mean, Bojan, who obviously took a long time to sort of get his feet running on the ground in terms of performances. But eventually, once he did start to play, and he went to that little streak before his injury against Rochdale in the FA Cup. I mean, he was looking like probably one of the best players I've seen in a Stoke shirt. But yeah, I mean, up until the end of that season, we looked a good side, a very good side actually. I mean, we beat Liverpool 6-1 in the last game of the season. Everything was looking rosy. Then the summer came and we lost the likes of Asmir Begovic, and we also lost, obviously, probably the key to the squad, which was Steven Nzonzi. Now, when you lose players, especially of Steven Nzonzi's calibre, you have to replace them. And in that transfer window, he didn't replace him. So in that summer, he didn't replace him. So we were stuck with the old guard, shall we say. And the first 10-11 games, I mean, I know that Mark Hughes always has a slow start, but the first 10-11 games of his third season in charge, we looked absolutely dreadful. Personally, I thought we looked dreadful. I mean, there were times where we were probably slightly unlucky. I mean, if I remember rightly, the West Brom game, Tony Pulis was in charge and we lost 1-0. And we went down to 9 men, and in all honesty, we probably were the better side. But, Mark Hughes stuck to his guns, and we eventually managed to come out of that rot and by Christmas time, the results were looking better. Things were looking up, and in fact, I mean, we beat the likes of Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, Everton away. So things were positive, and bearing in mind something that I haven't mentioned, in the previous summer we did bring in Shaqiri, another big name attacking midfielder. Things, even though things we sort of went on like a slippery slope, shall we say, we managed to pick things up, and by the Christmas time we were looking quite high up in the league. I think we were 8th or 7th. We were doing really well. And then this is when things started to go wrong. I mean, we brought in the likes of Mbule. Players like Bojan were starting to lose their form. If not, then again, I think when he came back from the injury, he didn't look the same player. But we sort of looked like a team that were struggling to pick up results. But under his previous spells, we looked like, even though we were playing better opposition, we looked like a team that could match them. But the results started to slide a little bit, and the last 6 months of that third season we really struggled, and we only got a 9th place finish due to the fact that I think Chelsea drew to Leicester and we beat West Ham in the last game of the season, and that gave us a 9th place finish for the third time. The following season we started in a very, very similar vein, where we had a very difficult start, there's no denying that. We had the likes of Manchester City and Tottenham. But the big difference this time was that we weren't losing, with 1-2-0. We were losing 4 or 5-0 or worse. And the season started in the exact same vein as the previous. But the problem was we looked a lot weaker. I mean, Jack Butland was out injured. We'd got Shea Given in goal, who was clearly struggling. And then back up to him was Haygarde. So we actually made quite well. Say we made, but Mark Hughes made the decision of bringing in third choice goalkeeper Lee Grant from Derby, who turned out to be definitely a revelation. I think. I mean, by the end of I'm skipping forward a little bit. At the end of the season, he was player of the season, and rightly so. We without him we would have struggled even worse. I mean, I think the sort of rise that we had was after the draw against Manchester United, and Lee Grant was out of this world. Joe Allen, the signing that we made that season. I mean, Joe was probably one of the other most consistent players in the side, and he started to get goals. I mean, he scored a couple against Sunderland. He obviously got the one at Old Trafford. Then once again we started to go on that little bit of a rise. The fall came again at Christmas, and we had quite a few tankings over Christmas. I think we lost to Liverpool 4-1 or 4-0, I'm not too sure, and we lost to Chelsea, I think that was 4-2 or 5-2 away. I mean, okay, in fairness, they were against clubs that we'd expect to lose to, but I mean, it was the alarming rate of the goals we were conceding. But this is, under Mark Hughes, we have this sort of roller coaster period of ups and downs, and this basically continued in the 2016-2017 season. The performances were below par. The tactics, the special, in particular, the substitutions at time were bizarre, absolutely bizarre, and the interviews after the matches were, from Mark himself, where they came across slightly deluded in games where we were beaten well, or in games when we played poorly and didn't pick up a result. He'd always defend the team, and as a manager, that's what you do. You defend your team, but at the same time, there has to be like a degree of honesty, and that's something which has been lacking, from the manager, and which obviously definitely applies to this season as well. So, like I say, anyway, the last season ended, and then we've started a new season. So the 2017-2018 season, we once again had a very difficult fixture list, probably more difficult, if not similar to last season's start. Arsenal at home, Everton away, Manchester United at home, West Brom away. I mean, difficult games. And in fairness, we started the season okay in terms of points return. From the first 4 games, we picked up 5 points, and I think that might have been a bit masked. It might have been something that was just a smokescreen. I don't know, but we looked okay. I mean, after this, the signings we made in the summer, we brought in Kurt Zuma, who I thought was a great addition to the squad. Kevin Wimmer, £18 million, a lot of money. I didn't agree with the price, but I thought he'll be okay to bring in. He should be decent. He's played for a good team like Tottenham. Yes, he's been injured for the majority of time he was there, but I thought, okay, we'll be fine. He'll be a decent replacement for somebody going forward. And then Hesse, we brought in on loan. I didn't know too much about Hesse, just the fact that he played for Real Madrid, and obviously he had a season at Paris Saint-Germain, and I think he was sent out on loan halfway through last season as well. But anyway, big name player. You're thinking, okay, great. Choupo-Moting I'd never heard of. There's no point me denying that. I never heard of him. But like I say, we started the season quite well, and signings like Hesse, he scored against Arsenal. We win 1-0. We get a 2-2 draw against Man United. Choupo-Moting scores 2 goals. You're thinking, okay, yeah, there's definitely an improvement. This is good. And then literally the wheels come off, and results are very difficult to come by. I mean, you can't pick up points at home to sides like Bournemouth. You're drawing away at teams like Brighton, and okay, Brighton have come up, they've looked okay, but you're still expecting to probably pick up 3 points there, especially when you're in the lead twice. You go 1-0 up away in games like Crystal Palace, in against sides that are quite low in confidence at the time, and you're thinking, yeah, well, we should be beating them, and then you end up losing, and that's pretty much been the story of this season so far. We do score goals, but we concede, and that's why literally we've got the worst defensive record in the Premier League, and rightly so. Because it's not just about the way we are defensively. I think in general play we look very, very poor. I think we're lacking ideas. I think Mark Hughes doesn't know his best 11, even if the entire squad's fit. He still sticks by Peter Crouch. And don't get me wrong, I love Crouch. Crouch is, I'm not firing any blame at Crouch. At the end of the day, he has scored some goals for us this season. But for me, he's not a player that should be in the starting 11. I haven't even mentioned Saido Berahino. We brought him in last January, scored 0 goals. And this is the thing. Mark Hughes has been given money, and you're looking at signings like obviously Mbula, who's now out on loan. Bojan. Bojan is out on loan, but I wouldn't say that he's been necessarily a problem for us. I think he's just a player that I've already mentioned, who's sort of low on confidence, and we've had to send him out on loan. But bringing in players like Kevin Wimmer for 18 million, who so far, for me, he lacks any sort of backbone. I think a few things he's put on social media, especially after we lost to Tottenham, and congratulating players from your previous club. It's just not right for me, and I think there are so many problems at the club at the moment that it's very, very worrying. I've been optimistic, but the last 2 months for well, not just for me personally, but for most Stoke fans, you run out of excuses for the manager and the players. And I've got to the point now, especially in terms of Mark Hughes, where I'm starting to think he can't do this anymore. He can't do this job anymore. Tony Pulis in his last 6 months deserved to go, for probably on it. I wouldn't even say a worse run than what Mark Hughes has been on. I think it's been a lot worse for Mark Hughes. And I wouldn't even say it's been, 6 months for Mark Hughes. I think he's, for the last 18 months, you can see the decline in performances. You can see the discontent in the crowd. The whole club at the moment is on a bit of a downward spiral, and Peter Coates needs to make the decision whether to sack or back the manager. And at the moment, I think I don't like seeing a manager getting sacked. I don't. But also, the thing that comes first is the club. And for me, Mark Hughes now has got to a point where I think he's taken us as far as he could, and that's why I think Peter Coates is really partially to blame for this. Because in the summer, if somebody had said to me, "Oh, Mark Hughes has left," or "Mark Hughes has been sacked," then I would have held my hands up and said, "Yep, thanks for everything, Mark. 3 top 10 finishes." I mean, in fairness, last season we were 2-3 points off finishing in the top 10, but that's all in the past now. So we've got to look forward, and I think going forward we should sack the manager. I think we need to bring in somebody with fresh ideas, somebody that potentially could do something decent in this transfer market that we're in now. But also that comes down to the chairman. Will the chairman give the new manager money if he brings in a new manager? And if he is going to stick with Mark Hughes, give him money. And I know that a lot of people will be saying, "Oh, well, he gave him money before, look at Imbuler, look at Berahino, look at Vimmer." Well, for me, this should be a last chance saloon. And if we do stick with the manager, you give him money, we bring in new players, and I mean, it's a gamble that we would have to take if we were going to stick with Mark Hughes. Like I said, I do feel for Mark Hughes because, I mean, he has the passion. No one can take that away from him. I mean, I remember in his first season, we lost to Newcastle United away. I think we were 1 or 2-0 up, and it was another one of them games where we had a couple of sendings off, and I can remember Mark Hughes sat in the dugout and he flung his coat up in the air, and I don't know, I just I had that little bit of a warm to him, I mean, especially after me not wanting him in the club in the first place at the beginning of the season. But I like that side of him. I like that he's got fire, and I like the fact that he's a proud man. But the problem is that his proudness is his failings at the moment. He's a very stubborn manager, similar to the predecessor, and I think it's time for change. And in terms of options, I don't know if there is that many options at the moment for a new manager. But if I was Peter Coates at the moment, I mean, there is a list. There's a few managers out there. There's some big names available. I mean, me personally, talking in dream territory, I mean, I'd be looking at somebody like Louis van Gaal, possibly Ronald Koeman. I don't know if he is a little bit too similar to Mark Hughes. I don't know. My biggest worry is, though, that we could end up with somebody like Steve McLaren, which that really wouldn't surprise me. And I mean, let's be honest, if he does come to the club, it'll probably be worse than sacking Mark Hughes. It would be a worse scenario than sacking Mark Hughes. You might as well keep Mark Hughes if you're going to bring in somebody of that calibre. So we'll have to just wait and see. We'll see what happens in the future. We'll see if Mark Hughes is still in charge after the Coventry game, because it's already been confirmed that he will be here for the Coventry game on Saturday. Okay, it's come from Sky sources, and yeah, there's a chance it could be bollocks. But it looks like we've got him for at least another week. Now, whether Peter Coates is just doing that whilst he's looking for somebody else, I mean, I don't know. Because obviously this weekend we should be clear favourites for the game. But with confidence low in the squad and everything else, I mean, there is a chance we could get knocked out. But this is actually one of the first seasons in a while where, in terms of cups now, I mean, we're only in one, but I mean, I couldn't care less about any cups. I mean, my priority, and I'd imagine the club's priority, will be to stay in the league. So if Mark Hughes is sacked, or any time after the Coventry game, then so be it. And that's a possibility. But like I say, we'll have to just wait and see. Anyway, I'm waffling on a bit now, so I'm going to close this video. I just want to say thank you for listening to me today. I know it's a little bit. It's not the most professional of videos. I am pretty new to this. Everything is off the cuff. But hopefully going forward I'll make some decent videos, and I'll keep improving, and I just hope that you guys continue to listen and enjoy. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and in the comment section below, I mean, this is my sort of question for this week. Do you think that Mark Hughes will be here by the time we play Manchester United at Old Trafford? So yeah, just put them down in the comments below. Let us know what your thoughts are. And until next time, have a good one. See you soon.